This is the Seller Process Podcast, where we talk about the best systems, processes, and SOPs for your Amazon business so that you can regain control of your time, build up your team, and scale your e-com empire.
Hello, entrepreneurs. If you are looking for strategies to turn your Amazon business from a cash-eating monster to a money-making machine that is able to systematically pay you every month a nice salary or dividends, then this episode is for you. Our guest today will share with us how to implement a very powerful yet so simple methodology called Profit First. It's created by best-selling author Mike Maghielle and shared in his book, Profit First. To share his knowledge with us today, we brought to the podcast Chad Maghielse. He started his Amazon business with just $3,000 and sold the brand for 7 figures just 2.5 years after taking his first order. After the sale, he invested the profits well enough that he's been able to semi-retire young and can enjoy a lifestyle of freedom. He now teaches others how to do the same thing and become wealthy and making the world a better place at the same time. Hey, Chad, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you inviting me on the podcast.
Awesome. So I'm very excited, from your intro. We all now expect a lot from you, and I'm sure you'll be able to deliver some very good tips and insights. So today, we're actually talking about this powerful method called Profit First. For people who are watching this from YouTube, they will see there is the book right behind me. And it's something that it's very current for me because I'm just starting to implement that in my business. But I know you told me that you have successfully implemented this methodology in your business, and it really gave you great results. I'm looking forward to hear that from you. So let's dive right in. So can you tell us what is this Profit First methodology and how Amazon sellers can use it, and what can they expect from implementing it in their business?
Yeah, Profit First is basically a system for organizing your business's finances and budget that forces you to be profitable. This is a system that can be applied to any type of business. Mike Maghielle, the author, didn't write this book with Amazon sellers in mind. However, a gal by the name of Cindy Thompson, with Mike Maghielle's permission, wrote a second book and had a course called Profit First for e-commerce sellers. So I'd highly recommend everybody watching this read the original book and read the Profit First for e-commerce sellers, and that'll really help. But it forces you to be profitable and focus on profitability. The analogy that's often used is like our grandparents' generation had this money system where they'd put money in envelopes for different things. It's like, here's a vacation fund, here's a grocery fund, here's this, that, or the other. This is a more modern version of that, where our envelopes are bank accounts, where you have a number of different bank accounts for your business to keep your finances organized, and also forces you to allocate a higher percentage to profit over time. I know you mentioned you just implemented this in your business recently, and you'll see some changes right away. But 6 months down the line, when this becomes a habit and you increase profit, it's going to do wonders for your business.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very interesting. And I also do recommend people to read the original book, Profit First. And yeah, definitely, it's something that I will also to read, the second, the part for specific for e-commerce. So let's give it as an example, or let's go through the process. So people who are not familiar with this method, how can they implement this in their regular, business? Like what changes they need to make in order to implement it?
So to get started, really, you need to know your numbers from the previous year and then create this set of bank accounts or envelopes, as we said. So what you do, and what they call in the book, is to do a Profit First assessment of your business. So look back at the previous financial year. What was your bottom line profit? What did you pay yourself? What did you pay in taxes? And then what did you spend on operational expenses and advertising and all of that? So when you know those numbers, then you kind of create this system of envelopes, digital envelopes or bank accounts where you can allocate certain percentages to. I want to be very clear that those are the percentage allocations you set up in the beginning should not be the percentage allocations that you have 6 months, 1 year, 2 years down the line. This system is set up to cut out inefficiencies, trim the fat, and increase your profit. So the book even mentions, like, if you start out with only putting 1% away as profit and then grow from there, that's okay. I mean, we obviously want to do a lot more than that, but don't feel like what your numbers are today is what they have to be a year from now. So you do a profit first assessment of your business, get to know your numbers, and then you set up a number of different bank accounts. The first one is the income account. And for Amazon sellers, which is a lot of you listening to this, whatever Amazon is paying you in right now, don't touch that. Keep that as the income account, because you don't want to deal with problems with Amazon if you change the account you're being paid to. So wherever Amazon is paying you, that is the income account. That's where all the money from Amazon, your Shopify site, if you have a Walmart, any of your sales channels, all the money comes into your one income account. And then from there is dispersed into the sub envelopes, or sub bank accounts, as we put it. There are some guidelines for what bank accounts you have, and there are some that everyone should have, but some people may have an additional bank account or two. Do you want me to get into how I set that up now?
Go ahead. Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, and we'll see. Yeah,
sure. The way I did it and was in 2 stages. During growth or scaling stage, I had one additional bank account than I did during the 12 months where I was prepping for sale. As many of you know, if you're prepping for sale, a business's valuation is based on the trailing 12 months. So you want to maximize profit as much as possible for the 12 months leading up to your exit. So there's just a tweak in the bank accounts, whether you're scaling or whether you're getting ready to sell. So the way I did it is I have payments coming in from payment processors. And just to simplify this, we're just going to talk about Amazon, because that's, for me, it was like 70% of my sales were Amazon. I had a healthy outside of Amazon presence, but I think for people listening to this, the majority of their sales are from Amazon. So first, the Amazon payment comes in. Then before disbursement, so this is an important step and a mistake a lot of people make. Before dispersing to these other accounts, you need to account for Amazon now collects and remits sales tax for most people in the US. So if sales tax is not a thing, you can forget that step. But Amazon payment minus sales tax minus PPC costs, I deduct those first. A lot of times people have that set up where that's just deducted from their Amazon balance and isn't anything you need to think about. If you are in the US, I strongly recommend a credit card to pay your Amazon PPC balance, because you can get points or just 2% cash back or something, but it's basically free money. So if you have the ability to have a US-based bank credit card on file that earns points, you're leaving money on the table if you're just deducting that out of the budget. So Amazon payment minus any sales tax, minus PPC costs, and then how I do it, and this is how I did it personally, minus inventory costs plus 5 to 10%, accounting for growth. So you have that extra buffer. So Amazon payment minus sales tax, if that applies to you, usually does not anymore, minus Amazon PPC costs, minus inventory costs plus a little buffer equals your net payment from Amazon. And then from the net payment amount, you divide that into the sub envelopes or bank accounts. Profit holding, first and most important. So the book's called Profit First. So you pay that one first. Your profit holding, then your owner's pay, which is similar to profit, but you want a separate bank account for that. That is your salary. If you have a business partner or something, it would be their salary. The owner's pay account. Income tax, make sure you have enough money set aside to pay your taxes at the end. And hopefully, if you're tax efficient, what is left over in that at the end of the year then gets moved to additional profit. Operating expenses is the other big one. And then this is where it changes whether you are growing or prepping to sell. I had an additional bank account that I called the Future Products Fund. And I separated that from operating expenses. So as I was growing, I wanted to have funding for the next product launch and the next inventory for the next product. And that is separate from the inventory that I talked about paying your existing inventory you're already selling. That was a future product fund. Now, in the 12 months leading up to sale, I closed that bank account because I was not launching any new products. I was optimizing for profit. What you can do if you want to be extra organized is you can have that operating expenses count. You could break that down into a few sub accounts if you want to be extra organized. Operating expenses encompasses a lot of things. But if you wanted to have operating expenses advertising, operating expenses influencer outreach, operating expenses whatever, and be a little more organized that way, that is an optional, let's call it a bonus step that you could take. I didn't personally do that, but I know that is if you want to be hyper organized, that could be a good thing to do.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I can tell it's very powerful. Even though I just started using this method, I can already tell it's a very powerful way. And it's so simple. Guys, let me try to summarize it in just a few words. It's very simple. So we're basically setting up like 5 different bank accounts, one for income, one for operating expenses, another one for taxes, one for profit, and one for the owner's compensation. So basically the whole method says that you are getting all the money that you get from Amazon, you're collecting it in your income account, and then basically spread the money that you collect minus, as we said, the inventory costs or the PPC costs. You spread this into the other accounts as based on certain percentages, and that's what we could go. We can dive deeper into. I'd like to understand, like, what are the your in the book they call it TAP, target allocation percentages. So what were the percentage that you were using in your business?
One quick thing I want to bring up before we dive into my percentages, what I did is the mindset shift here, and this is important for all of the listeners to do, because everybody thinks as profit is income minus expenses equals profit. This forces you to change that. It's income minus profit equals your allocated expense amount. And that change of profit first, it changes the decisions you make. You find yourself wasting less money. You see the inefficiencies, you see the software that you've been paying for that you're no longer using, and all of this enforces you to be more profitable. So that is a very important distinction. Now, to get into the target allocation percentages, I'm going to share my guidelines, what I did. These are not gospel truth numbers. Like I said, in the book, Mike Maghielle said, if you have to start with 1% profit and work from there, that is okay. So start with what you can manage this month, and then every month try to increase the profit. So what I did is I didn't start profit first till my business was probably doing 50 grand a month. I recommend you all start it early, but I didn't find out about it until I was already doing 50 grand a month or so. So what I did in the year leading up to the 12 months prior to my sale, so in my growth year, is I took the net payment. Again, net payment is Amazon payment minus PPC and inventory, net payment. I took 30% of that and put it into profit holding. I took another 20% of that and put it into owner's pay. I took 20%, put it into income tax holding, which after paying taxes is more profit. 10% future product fund, 20% operating expenses. Then when I went to sell, or in the 12 months leading up to sale, I tried to take that 10% that was in the future products fund went away, and that just became additional profit. I also tried to take the 20% of the operating expenses and see if I could bring that down to 15. So that became 20% was the rule, but if I could get it down to 15, that would be better. Reason for that is again, you do not want to sacrifice sales or anything. You want to keep the momentum going, keep bringing in all the sales, but you want to optimize for profit in the 12 months leading up to the time of your purchase. That's not the time to have an operating account that is doing experimental things. If you've never run a Pinterest ad campaign, the 12 months leading up to your sale is not the time to start a Pinterest ad campaign. You focus on what's working and you optimize for profit. So those were the percentages that I did. And just leading up to sale, I tried to, I got rid of the future product fund and tried to squeeze that operating expenses a little bit to be as efficient as possible.
Yeah, very, very interesting methodology. So these are the percentages Chad used in his business. You can guys find the exact percentages plus some other information in a document that Chad is sharing with us. You can find that as usual in the complimentary downloadable material of the episode at thesellerprocess.com. Find this episode, and in the show notes you will see the link, or in the description of the YouTube video. So these are very interesting. Yeah. You want to say?
I just want to mention one clarifying thing. You may find, if you are new to Profit First, anybody listening to this, if you do your Profit First assessment and look at what you spent last year, and then look at the numbers that I allocated, you might find that you think you can't do that. So again, I want to reiterate, it is okay to start with a smaller amount of profit and set these target allocation percentages as like, hey, in 3 months, I'd like to see my profit go from 5% to 7%, and then 15% to 17%. And like these are goals you work towards. So don't expect to be as profitable as possible on day one when you implement this. You won't be. So I just want to make sure that if you're looking at these numbers saying that's not going to work for my business, the tweak is that might not work for your business today, but you can get it there. And the more profitable you make your business, the more an investor is going to want to pay for it when the time comes to exit.
Yeah, exactly. So this is actually a great technique that we can use, with the end in mind. When we will sell the business, then, it's a living proof that we create, basically a living proof that our business is profitable. So it will be more attractive to future buyers. And actually what you mentioned is exactly what I've done, because I just recently started implementing this system in my business. So I didn't go like all in, with 20-30% profit from day one. I'm just starting with a 5% allocation just to begin with, and then I will see if it's manageable, if I will get going, the business going as usual, as normal, then I will increase that percentage as you suggested. So that's definitely the way to start. Guys, feel feel free to adjust these percentages in the way that you feel more comfortable. And then as you see more data, you see these numbers accumulating in your accounts, then you will become more confident and also comfortable to increase those percentages. So that's definitely great advice. But I have one let's say common objection that people might think when they hear about this method, which is what if I allocate these percentages in my accounts and I find out that there is not enough money to pay for like inventory or for other expenses. So what if that happens? How do we handle that?
Well, those are two different questions that you put together. You said inventory or other expenses. I separate inventory out early before the net payment. So that's never an issue. And the reason that you do a buffer, so I say inventory plus a 5 to 10% buffer, is your inventory costs in Q2 may not be the same as Q4. So you want to build up a little bit of buffer for larger inventory orders. So that was never a problem for me. When it comes to operating expenses, once you've been doing the system for a few months, it shouldn't come up unless there's a big one-time expense. And a big one-time expense can be handled by an emergency fund. That is another optional account within operating expenses, the operating expenses emergency fund, where you save a little bit for a one-time thing. I want to say that I think it is important to have a hard and fast rule that you don't touch the profit account. A lot of people even will have the profit holding account in a different bank without online access. So you're not tempted, if you're looking at your bank statements, you're not seeing all these envelopes right next to each other and be like, I could click that button and transfer $5,000 from the profit account. Like, you want to eliminate that temptation so you don't do it. If you have willpower and don't need it in a separate bank, that's fine. But if you feel that you would be very tempted to do that, maybe it would be smart to put that as a separate bank account. So when you're setting up these allocation percentages, again, you may on the first month find out that you didn't give yourself enough for operating expenses, but instead of thinking, okay, I need to spend more, I would then at the end of that month, like, okay, I went over budget. What exactly am I spending on? Do I really need that? Do I really need that? Are those two pieces of software redundant? Am I using Helium 10 and Jungle Scout? Am I doing this, that, or the other? And seeing what you can cut, because you get more profitable as you become more streamlined and cut expenses.
Yeah, definitely. It is actually a method that forces you to think of profitability first, as the name implies. And it basically forces you to cut your expenses and be creative. Actually, there are lots of stories in the book. He mentions that people, getting creative and innovating with, just because they were kind of forced to cut their costs, so they become creative. Right. And creativity brings innovation, and you might find different ways to run your business with less money. Probably we don't need all this software, or we don't need all these BAs or whatever. I mean, whatever you are spending money for, you can become creative and reassess your spending and make your business more profitable, because that's what we're looking for, profits.
Absolutely. And do a deep dive on your expenses. Don't just do a cursory glance. When you do a deep dive, you will be surprised at what you are spending and where you can save it. If you take 5 minutes and just look at your credit card statement, it might not pop out to you. You might be like, well, these are my expenses. I can't cut any of this. But when you do a deep dive, and they go into this in detail in the book, where they have the stories, like you were just saying, there is usually, and almost always, there are hidden expenses that you can cut and inefficiencies that can be wiped out. A common example is you're having two pieces of software that you're paying $100 for each one, but there's a different software that does both of those things, and then you cut that software expense in half. Do a deep dive, not just a quick glance at your expenses. You can cut things and you can become more streamlined. Definitely.
It's all about creating a more performing business, basically, and cutting costs and become creative into and creating a money-making machine instead of a cash-eating monster, as he mentioned. So I'd like you to tell us, since you have experience with using this method for a while, what are some of the best practices that we can use to make this method work better for us?
Yeah. We've probably covered most of them, but to reiterate, set up your allocation percentages based on your profit assessment of the previous year. Realize that where you are today is not where you need to be 3 months, 6 months, a year from now. So set your current allocations and your target allocations and move towards those. Don't make exceptions with your profit account. That should remain untouched. When you transfer money there, that is the business's money. That is not your money. And that's an important distinction to make, is that's not your bank account to go in and touch, and you can't go steal from it. The profit account is its own thing. That is the business's account. Again, you start with smaller amounts and move up. Remember to first, again, other people may do this differently. How it worked for me, first deduct inventory in Amazon PPC and make allocations based off the net percentage or the net payment. I think that's really important to do. Again, don't change the account that Amazon already pays you in. That can just cause you a headache, and Amazon can do a whole account review, and you don't want to deal with that headache. So wherever Amazon pays you, that becomes your income account, and move other things out of there. It might be a slight pain if you already have an auto deduction going for some of your expenses from that bank account. You're going to need to reset that up in the operating expenses account. It can be tempting, frankly, to be lazy and be like, I don't want to do that. That'd be a pain. So then you keep some auto expenses coming out of your income account, and then your organization is messed up after that. So create the bank accounts and only use those bank accounts for those individual things. I would take it a step further also. Same thing with credit cards. Have multiple business credit cards. I had a credit card for inventory only, a credit card for Facebook ads and social media ads only. A credit card for other operating expenses. So keep your bank accounts and credit cards in line with your Profit First digital envelopes.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And honestly, it's something, I tried to avoid in the beginning, but I think it's really, mandatory to make this system work. People try to make shortcuts and just, for example, have just one account and basically divide the amounts within, like a spreadsheet, for example. And it doesn't work. It's a pain in the ass. It's very difficult to track every little piece of, expense going in and out from a non-existing division of the accounts just on a spreadsheet. It doesn't work as well. So it's definitely important to set up different accounts and don't try to take any shortcuts, because it's an already very simple method. It's as simple as we mentioned, allocate your money into different funds and use those funds to run your business instead of having like one big chunk. That's simple enough, but very, very effective. Chad, so I think we covered everything about this process, because as we mentioned, it's very powerful, but so simple. So tell people how they can find you and what can you do to help them if they like your help.
Yeah. One other thing before that, I'd say, I think this interview, this podcast has been really helpful to anybody listening to it, but also read the book. There are other details beyond what the scope of what we talked about in a 20-minute podcast. So read the book. It will be very helpful, and check out the Profit First for e-commerce sellers as well. Neither of us have any type of affiliation selling this. We're not making any money off, just for your own good. Read the book too. If anybody wants to reach out to me, my name, Chad Maghielse, I'm sure the spelling of that is in the show notes. Feel free to find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. I don't have a fancy website. I don't do any of that. I do some group coaching for the capitalism.com community currently, but I also have select one-on-one coaching spots available for people that already have six-figure brands. I don't tend to work one-on-one with people just getting started, but if you are already doing six figures, let's say 30 grand to 80 grand a month, and want help scaling to seven figures and then exiting, that's where my sweet spot comes in, and I can help do that and show tax saving methods when time comes to exit as well, and how to grow rapidly to seven figures plus. So if you're in that group and would like some one-on-one help, feel free to reach out to me on either Facebook or LinkedIn, and we'll see if that would be a good fit.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you again, Chad. Guys, remember, the key to success is to emulate the best. So take action, set up your accounts, follow these tips and insights that Chad just mentioned, and start using Profit First to grow your business. Remember to download the complimentary materials that goes along with this episode at thesellerprocess.com in the show notes or in the description of the YouTube video. Thank you, guys, and thank you, Chad. I hope to see you next time in the next episode.
All right.
Hey, entrepreneurs. I hope you enjoyed the episode and learned something from the interview. If you're serious about creating systems for your business, automating processes, and building up your team so that you can transfer the tedious daily tasks in order to focus on more high-level strategic tasks and work on your business and not in your business, I've created a guide for Amazon sellers named Capturing Systems and Creating SOPs that you can find at thesellerprocess.com/systems ebook, where you will learn how to leverage systems and SOPs in your Amazon business so that you can accomplish more by working less, optimize your time, automate and delegate tasks, and reap the benefits of being a true business owner and not simply an operator in your own business. Go download the ebook at thesellerprocess.com/systems ebook and start implementing all the tips and insights that I share with you. And leave us a review or a comment to let us know how the content we are sharing here is making an impact in your business. And have a productive week.